Ja? Aftellen? Okay. Welcome, students. I'm a bit nervous with all this fuss going on. First of all, welcome to you, students, and to everyone who's watching us from I don't know where. On this, I had to point out all the cameras. This camera, that camera, from maybe from China, Indonesia, and the Hoekse Waard. So maybe and welcome all, because probably or most likely you can join us in this ceremony because of the live stream. Because I have 2 minutes per student available, I will focus on you, of course, and not on you, I'm sorry. And afterwards I have a modest general speech for you in which I would like to express my admiration and appreciation for your efforts in this extraordinary challenging time, but that's later. Now first this. Samantha Vossen. First Samantha Vossen. Maybe you can take the black spot there. Yes? Are you ready for a short speech? Yes, Samantha. You deeply analyzed the dikes of the Hoekse Waard and found a new understanding of the connection of dikes and the people living nearby. Finding answers to questions about this coexistence from a human perspective. You involved critical and complete analysis, transformed important events of the past of the local dike history into a view on possible options for the future. How to involve dikes in a new way. Starting from emotional consequences of a life in between dikes, your designs foresee a clever integration of dikes in social, public and private spaces, as your guiding tutor Jan Kerbers describes your project. In the very last phase of your graduation, you made a bold and risky move. Instead of narrating your experiences with the polder dikes in the form of a monumental sculpture on the dike, as you originally intended, you translated your findings into the language of the polder dike landscape itself. Instead of adding artificial shapes, you looked for ways to make the narrative of the historical changes visible in the relationships between the existing elements of the dike structures and the housing that is connected to that. That was a courageous act that I greatly appreciate. It testifies to the courage and ingenuity that are important for your professional career. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. And then some applause. So now, Samantha, I have to ask you to step back to your yellow dot. And then first I have these 4 speeches and then you're invited to sign your diploma here. Next student, still student, only minutes away from not being a student anymore, Mari Faru. Mari. At the very first presentation of a project at Inside, you took us to a studio at the school where you had managed to get an old-fashioned overhead projector. The presentation you gave was a fascinating combination of animation and shadow play that seemed far away from the language of architecture, but in the end perfectly introduced your project. In your graduation, you continued with this talent to confront your audience with unusual use of space in a special and attractive way. In one of the videos you made, 2 people featured a dinner organized by you on a busy train platform. You were ready to cause a whole series of experiments like this when the pandemic made it impossible. Initially, you struggled with the limitations that this brought with it. But in the end, it turned out that being locked up in your own home was no obstacle at all to a fascinating reflection on your own home. A reflection that ended in a breathtaking film in which, among other things, you presented your toilet concept and managed to portray the toilet as the absolute core space for finding and regaining human self-confidence over and over again. Your exceptional graduation project not only earned you a nomination for this year's KABK Master Award, but also a nomination for the Master Thesis Award. We congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. So now a routine gets visible. Sebastian Kukides. No applause yet, but afterwards. Your starting point for graduation was a special observation of a disappeared bench in public space. The bum you had seen sleeping on earlier was now lying on the same spot on the ground. It raised the question in you about the politics of the objects in the city. Was this a coincidence or deliberate? You then took a considerable amount of time to make that question your own and embrace it as if it were your own project. You made an inventarization and analysis, but also hesitated and hesitated. You took the time to rediscover the decisiveness with which you had started the education, a need for decisiveness that you did not always recognize in the architectural questions you were confronted with. Finally, you were able to translate what first remained quite conceptual into a comprehensible storyline. You concluded your project with a fascinating dystopian film in which the urban objects you designed were constantly being used and manipulated for political motives. This put an end to what has been an essential journey for your future explorations as designer, a future that will most likely not lie in the actual shaping of spatial situations. Rather, it will take the form of artistic activism within the use of the built environment. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. Divina Amelia, Divina. Your family's shop house in Sukabumi on West Java is the star of your research and of your final graduation project, in the words of your research teachers. This shop house was founded and expanded in the last century by your grandparents, courageous and resilient in the face of opposition, in a remarkable way. You immediately started this graduation year with this fascinating topic and could easily interest design tutors to guide you. Fokke Morel, who guided you, wrote that she felt it as an honor and a joy to get to know your background while navigating through your personal devotion on the one hand and pragmatic and entrepreneur-like approach on the other. She established that nostalgia for you clearly goes beyond the romantic view on how things were better before. Looking back at the past brings opportunities for you because you are able to learn from it. Social inclusivity, vernacular innovations, reinvention of crafts, and building methods and value of local materials. From these insights, you are able to develop new forms of co-living, co-working, adaptive typology, transformation and phasing, microeconomy, and much more. Insight is confident that also in your professional practice, you will be able to develop new concepts from the knowledge of vernacular development strategies. Your exceptional graduation project earned you a nomination for this year's KABK Master Awards. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. So now, please, first starting with Samantha, please sign. I guess you will have music behind this, a nice soundtrack. You don't? No music? Sebastian? Now for the audience back home. Oh. For the audience back home. Behind the curtain, they are taking a group picture. So shall we start with the next group? Yes? Okay, please, the next 5 students, shall I? Kui, Shripal, Michel, Davida, and Aushra, the only one at home. So maybe it's good to give the same introduction again as I did before. So welcome students, welcome friends and family at home, who are, we're all very happy that you're able to join this procedure, no, not a procedure, what is it? This ceremony, that's the right word, thank you. Thank you. People in China, in Amsterdam, in Syria, in India, in the Netherlands, and in Lithuania. So welcome to you all. Since they're the stars of this movie, I'm gonna address them. So afterwards, I have a modest general speech for you in which I would like to express my admiration and appreciation for your efforts in this extraordinary challenging time. But that's for later. Now first this. Then I have to find the next student. No, it's Kui. Could you please stand on the spot? Kui. You started your graduation with a topic that you've been fascinated with even before joining us at Inside. You went back to the area in Tibet where your grandmother originally is from. You researched how developments in China have affected this region and the daily life of its people. You felt the need to play a role in these developments and ask yourself what you can do as a designer. And that's where your graduation roller coaster began. A trajectory that you set in motion very well by carefully and beautifully portraying the effect of the changes on the way people live in the area. It finally became clear to you what your stay at our education could offer to you. Something you have been looking for throughout your whole first year. In the end, you did not make an actual spatial design, but you designed a strategy that connects new wishes with old knowledge. With designing and proposing an educational program for exchanging Chinese rural and urban skills, you encourage a creative and experimental knowledge exchange to inspire, appreciate, and learn from one another. I'm confident that you will be able to realize this strategy and look forward to seeing the results in the future. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. Michel Barkini. Michel. I remember a moment last year when we explored your travel blog together. There was a certain distance noticeable between you and the places you portrayed. It seemed as if you were looking at the space around you from your own secluded world. A photograph of yourself in the reflection of a shop window made it clear why that was. On your walks, you were wearing huge, heavy headphones with your own soundtrack, something you always did on your travels through the built environment. But this is exactly what you managed to use this year for your graduation project in a remarkable way. You explored the possibilities of embracing the sounds of the city instead of shutting them out. Instead of letting your own sound determine your impression of the city, you developed a strategy to let the sounds of the city determine your impression of the city in a much more powerful way. You wanted to use sound to merge with the city and developed tools and exercises for your sonic city. A project that, although your hard work this year, is hopefully just the beginning of a fascinating new perspective on the city. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. Davida Rauch. David, you started your education at Insight from your dissatisfaction with the limitations of architecture in your previous education. You were looking for your own role in architecture that was not about building houses, but offered space for a direct relationship with body and movement. In your first year, you came across a lot of things that were not what you were looking for. But the development of your graduation project reads like a straight line from intention through research into the design and realization of your participative proposal. The research tutors appreciated your project as a plea to incorporate ingredients not significantly intrinsic to spatial design, like intuition, spontaneity, freedom, performance, and moving and sensing the body. With your project, you aim at a fuller realm of engagement towards a more harmonious and resilient form of living and working together. This ambition is highly welcome and much needed in our profession. In your design, you succeeded to move fluidly through all the disciplines of your profession. While not stopping to design and research, you tested and built an event within the public domain in that you connected and directed your own neighborhood. You excel in collaboration and are without fear for realization. Your work displays a colorful and addictive joy, which is revealed in the remarkable presentation of your project. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. Shripal Shah. A special welcome to all his friends and relatives in China. In Ahmedabad, sorry for that. I apologize. Shripal, your research began from a very personal notion. How can one start to feel at home in a new urban environment? To do so, you undertook a long journey along colorful neighborhoods in Paris, Antwerp, and Rotterdam. What I particularly appreciate about your graduation project is your merciless confrontation with prejudice in urban society, and especially the way in which you have not avoided the confrontation with your own prejudice. In the research phase, you showed your ability to deal with a complex, multi-layered, and often confronting problem. The research tutors concluded that your fieldwork-oriented way, drawing from urbanism as well as geography and anthropology, was complemented by excellent writing and synthesizing skills. For the elaboration of the thoughts you developed in your research, you focused on a The Hague neighborhood with a colorful migration background. There, you were confronted with a culture that turned out to be as strange as it was recognizable to you. And that's where your original enterprise stranded in the restrictions imposed by the pandemic. However, you showed resilience and flexibility and were able to conclude your studies at Insight with a remarkable project. In your project, you consciously did not use your ability to design imaginative architecture, but focused on the social aspects of the built environment and the creation of meaning within it. I especially appreciate this choice to use your graduation for your own development and not only to think about your future position on the real estate market. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. Can the last students please step forward? Aushra Chesnauskite. Sorry for that. Your graduation actually started in your very first week at Insight when we visited Berlin. There you saw a lamppost with so many posters stuck on top of each other that it had formed its own shape. The originally functional information carriers had taken on an autonomous form. A fascinating blob of paper and glue had emerged. You developed your own visual language from this observation, which in fact immediately led to special work uniforms in the studio new workspace, where you let your classmates walk around with blue blobbed masks containing water, bread rolls, or just small peepholes. In your graduation, your approach even led to the design of your own urban tribe, with which you successfully completed your education at Inside. You didn't just come up with that tribe, you set it up right away. You found members in several countries, drew up business plans and designed uniforms for them. I see your work as a unique form of grounded fantasy, in which you successfully combine your special idealistic fantasy with extreme hands-on realism. Your orientation on the future appeared to be very clear from the fact that you finally presented your proposal for the urban tribe in the form of a children's book. Your exceptional graduation project earned you a nomination for this year's KABK Master Award. I congratulate you on your graduation and wish you every success in your future career. So first, now it's time to sign the diplomas. First, Kay. So what would be a nice soundtrack behind this? Me. Michelle. Of which country? Respective countries. And then something like that. Davida. And for Aushka, we will have to find another opportunity. There's your diploma. So this concludes the presentation, the ceremony, diploma ceremony of Inside Master in Interior Architecture. See you next year. Bye. Bye, Aushka.